Hello and welcome to the Week 2 edition of the 580 Preps Rewind. I am Brendan Dzwierzynski, and we are recapping every single game from Topeka and Shawnee County High School football in Week 2 of the 2022 season. And we will start with a rare but very exciting, very hyped up matchup between a city and a county team. The first meeting between Hayden and Silver Lake in 78 years. It was our 580 Preps High School football game of the week on Country 106.9 on Friday night, and the Hayden Wildcats improved to 2-0 on the season, taking down the Silver Lake Eagles by a margin of 43-10. Bill Arnold's group came out and scored offensively, defensively, and on special teams in the first half with a long touchdown run by Finn Dunshee of 76 yards, plus a punt return touchdown by Jensen Schrickle, and Finn Dunshee also adding a 33-yard interception return for a touchdown. For the game, Dunshee finished with 151 yards rushing, plus those rushing and pick six touchdowns. Also running the ball, J.C. Cummings, the senior fullback for Hayden, he ended up with 104 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Meanwhile, Jensen Schrickle, he had a huge day, the sophomore wide receiver, 96 yards on 3 catches, plus a receiving touchdown and a punt return touchdown in the big 33-point Hayden victory. For Silver Lake, that is their most lopsided loss since the 2011 state championship game that the Eagles played against Conway Springs. Tanner Martin did have a big night passing the ball in the loss for Silver Lake, 258 yards through the air with 1 touchdown, but he also did throw 3 interceptions. Looking at some other games from city teams on Friday night of week 2 of the season, Washburn Rural trailed DeSoto 14-0 at the half. They were down 21-7 in the third quarter, but on the road, they came back and picked up their second win of the year with a 28-21 victory over the DeSoto Wildcats. Steve Bueller told Seth Kinker of the CJOnline.com website that, hey, they had the defensive game plan. They went into halftime. They worked on what they needed to work on. They came out and took care of business in the second half. And a big day as well for quarterback Branton DeWeese on the offensive side of the ball. 214 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, including 2 of which that went to receiver Titan Osborne. He ended up with 97 yards as well. So Rural improves to 2-0. They will take on another team from the United Kansas Conference next week. That will be Kansas City Piper at home at Bowen Glaze Stadium. Other action that included UKC teams. How about one from the city of Topeka? That is Seaman. They improved to 2-0 with a dominant blowout victory over Kansas City Turner, 70-0. Jack Bloom had a big late first half into the second half, I should say, with a rushing touchdown and a pick six in the contest. Seaman with the blowout win. They were up more than 45 going into the break, so they played the entire second half under a running clock. Seaman will have a rivalry renewed coming up next week when they take on Shawnee Heights at home at Seaman Stadium. It will be our 580 Preps High School football game of the week on Country 106.9 next Friday night with pregame at 6:45 and kickoff at 7 o'clock. Speaking of Shawnee Heights, Jason Swift's group picked up their first win of the season on Friday night, downing Lansing 46-23, doubling up the Lions in that contest. Shawnee Heights threw for just 21 yards in the game, but ran for 338 of them. Plus, the T-Birds won the turnover battle in that contest with 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery, plus 1 in the turnover margin for the game. Meanwhile, Lansing shot itself in the foot all night long with 130 yards of penalties in the contest. Moving on to the Meadowlark Conference, how about the Highland Park Scots? They are 2-0 and have won back-to-back games for the first time since October of 2011. It has been 11 years since Highland Park has won consecutive games, but they did it in dominant fashion over Kansas City Schlegel this weekend, including another massive game for the reigning 580 Sports Talk Wendy's High School Athlete of the Week. Trey Richardson from Highland Park totaled up 8 total touchdowns in the game, with distances including 52 yards, 70 yards, 76 yards, and even a 94-yard touchdown in the win over Schlegel. He also scored on a fake punt in the game. He has now accounted in 2 weeks for 14 total touchdowns for Highland Park. The Scots will take on Sumner Academy at home at Hummer Sports Park coming up next week. In the 8-man ranks, Care Paravel picks up its first ever win as a Keisha member in football, knocking off Doniphan West 56-8. So not only the first win for Care Paravel and head coach Doug Von Ura in Keisha competition, but they also got a mercy clock win in that contest as well. That game was called in the third quarter. From Shawnee County, outside the city of Topeka, Rossville bounces back. They pick up their first win of the year and improve to 1-1 by downing Riley County 36-15. Cade Perrine had a huge day for the reigning 2A state champions in that one. Rossville will take on the Hayden Wildcats coming up next week at Hayden High School. And if you thought it was a long time since Silver Lake and Hayden last played, this will be the first meeting between Hayden and Rossville since 1937, before World War II began. That was 85 years ago. Two teams from the city did come away with losses this week as well. Topeka High fell to 0-2. They lost to a dominant Manhattan team, 59-7. Topeka High struggling on offense to start off the year. They've scored just 7 points in each of their first two contests, and they trailed in shutouts in both of their first two games as well. They have a long road trip ahead of them next Friday night when the Trojans will go on the road to take on Liberal. Meanwhile, Topeka West also fell to 0-2 on the year. They lose at home at Hummer Sports Park to Leavenworth, 61-14. Malachi Berg, the quarterback for West, did have a 65-yard touchdown run in the game, but the West defense struggling to find its footing early in the year. They have allowed 58 and 61 points through their first two games of the season. They will go on the road to take on the Flexbone attack of DeSoto coming up next week. One more time for the 580 Preps Rewind. Don't forget that our next 580 Preps high school football game of the week coming up this Friday night, September 16th, rivalry renewed as Seaman hosts Shawnee Heights. Pregame at 6:45, kickoff at 7 on Country 106.9. So until then, and until next week's Rewind, I'm Brendan Dzwierzynski. Don't forget to check out 580 Sports Talk Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 on 580 WIBW, plus mic'd up with Jake and Fulton from noon to 3 on the same station on the same days. We will talk to you Friday night for the game of the week. Until then, have a good one. Can't wait to watch more high school football with you.